Donald Trump just can't take it, and so he canceled. And it's interesting because there are a couple of things that he can't take. Now, for starters, the booing. Donald Trump knows how unpopular he is, and he feels it everywhere he goes. There is not a setting out in public that his handlers can manufacture to make him feel good, because he will always be booed senselessly. But the other thing that Donald Trump can't take is being seen in this state. Now, Donald Trump craves attention above all else, but right now it's not worth it, because when people see him, they see how frail he is, how weak he is, the cognitive and physical decline. And it's why Donald Trump very abruptly and very publicly just had to cancel. And it is exposing his cognitive decline and his unpopularity. Now, we're going to get into what he canceled because it's very funny. But again, I want to start with those reasons why. And it begins with Donald Trump's White House freaking out about reporting on his cognitive decline. White House calls Daily Beast mentally ill for exposing Trump's decline. Reporters at the Daily Beast have grown accustomed to rude, belittling insults from the White House when they responsibly and politely ask for a response to stories they are writing about the president or his administration. But this week, one of our reporters was called mentally ill for asking a simple question about Donald Trump's bruised hand. We had clearly touched a nerve with a question on the topic that vexes the president more than any other, his health. For almost a year, the Daily Beast has led the way in reporting on an issue that is patently clear to the naked eye. Despite all his protestations to the contrary, Trump, 79, is not a well man. Just this week, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the New Yorker finally seem to realize that the president not only has no clothes, but he doesn't know where he left them. Thomas L. Friedman, a three-time Pulitzer Prize winner, wrote in the Times on Wednesday that Trump's behavior has grown so reckless that the question must be asked, is America now being ruled by a mad king? On the same day, the journal's Holman W. Jenkins Jr., a member of the editorial board, suggested that Trump may even be flirting with cognitive decline for all we know. And in the New Yorker on Thursday, Susan B. Glasser had her own diagnosis for Trump of untreated logorrhea, giving the dictionary definition as excessive and often incoherent talkativeness. These are conditions well known to Daily Beast readers, as we have been highlighting, and we've been highlighting on this show, Trump's cognitive problems for much of his second term. But while the president's mental state may be a matter of some debate, his physical condition is clear for all to see. That became clear to the rest of the world, and finally to the rest of the media this week, when a huge, ugly bruise could clearly be seen on the president's left hand as he unveiled the depleted lineup for his new Board of Peace in Davos. A reporter for the Daily Beast, Catherine Boris, as every good journalist should do, submitted a request for comment to the White House. She asked the White House's press office shared email address whether the president's application of makeup to his hands on the flight back to Washington was in response to growing speculation sparked by images of his bruised hand on stage at Davos. This is the third or fourth story the Daily Beast has written on this. Are you mentally ill? Is the president so successful that you can't find anything else to write about? Said the reply anonymously. The account is a 24-hour operation, but generally, those who reply do not identify themselves. It is a veil of anonymity that clearly feels lets them be uninhibited. So the White House, not too keen, obviously, on questions about Donald Trump's health, and it is the reason. Since his return from Davos, we haven't seen Donald Trump. Now, Mike Johnson, and of course J.D. Vance, who got in a fight with Laura Loomer, spoke publicly at an anti-choice group's public event in Washington, D.C., but Donald Trump nowhere to be seen, because he doesn't want to be seen right now, because of what Gavin Newsom perfectly put right here.
The Trump administration is weakness masquerading as strength, and people need to understand that. That's reflected in the tweets. That's reflected in canceling people. That's reflected in sending masked men into the American cities. It's reflected at this moment. So I respect what Carney did.
Weakness masquerading as strength. That is Donald Trump. That is who he has always been. That is who he always will be. And it is why, when the rubber meets the road and Donald Trump has to face the accountability of the public, he can't stand it. So much so that he just canceled on one of his favorite events. Trump, 79, gives deranged excuse for skipping Super Bowl. Donald Trump is claiming he will skip the Super Bowl not because of the game's anti-Trump musical performers, but because the game is just too far away. The 79-year-old president told the New York Post that he would really like to see the big game, set to take place in San Francisco's Levi Stadium on February 8th, but the flight is just too long. It's just too far away. I've gotten great hands for the Super Bowl. They like me, said Trump. I would go if, it was a little bit shorter, he added. Trump received a mixed reaction of boos and cheers when he attended the last Super Bowl in New Orleans, which is a 2-hour, 15-minute flight from D.C. San Francisco is about 5.5 hours in. The political intrigue of this year's Super Bowl, though, has centered around its musical guests. Bad Bunny in Green Day. The Spanish-language sensation will perform the halftime show, while the veteran punk band will play the game's opening ceremony. Both Bad Bunny and Green Day are vocally anti-Trump. Before he was booked for the halftime show, Bad Bunny said he wouldn't tour in the United States out of concern that ICE would raid his concerts. MAGA commentators have voiced outrage for months over Bad Bunny's selection, with some even going as far as demand that Bad Bunny be deported. Bad Bunny is, of course, a Puerto Rican and a U.S. citizen. After Bad Bunny was announced in September, Trump decried the move as absolutely ridiculous. He told Newsmax viewers that even though he had never heard of Bad Bunny, he was confident in saying, "This guy, who hates ICE, he doesn't like you. He accuses everything he doesn't like of racism." Bay Area locals Green Day were announced as the opening ceremony entertainment earlier this week. The band, who needled George W. Bush on their 2004 album American Idiot, have updated their politically charged songs to reference the Trump administration. In recent performances of American Idiot's title track, they have altered the lyric of "I'm not part of the redneck agenda" to "I'm not a part of the MAGA agenda." Trump criticized the Super Bowl's musical guest but insisted they didn't factor into his decision to skip the game. "I'm anti-them. I think it's a terrible choice. All it does is sow hatred. Terrible," he said. Yeah, definitely. Donald Trump is not attending the Super Bowl because he's hard at work. Okay, on a Sunday. Okay, doing what? Eating Big Macs and watching Fox? No, Donald Trump doesn't want to go to the Super Bowl because it's being held in San Francisco, and two of the biggest artists in the world, one of the biggest bands in the world, and probably the biggest artist in the world in Bad Bunny, are going to humiliate him if he is there. Now, it's nice to know that they still will humiliate him, even without Donald Trump in attendance, but it is because he is terrified of the boos that would rain down on him in the home stadium of the great San Francisco 49ers. And Donald Trump understands that. That is why he is not going. That is why. He has attended a couple of football games in the past couple of weeks and months, and it hasn't gone well. Remember the last time he was at the Commanders game and people were booing him senseless, so loud that you couldn't even hear him talk? They were flipping him off. It was the same thing as when he went to the U.S. Open, but it is also the case that Donald Trump just doesn't want to be seen right now. He's feeling very insecure about his bruised hand and his slurring words, and he just doesn't want us to recognize that he's in such bad cognitive and physical decline. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh, poor sad president. Doesn't want us to see that he's fucking falling apart. Well, he is. Donald Trump is falling apart in every way that you could imagine, politically, physically, mentally. Donald Trump is falling apart. That is the reason that he is not attending the Super Bowl. It is his fear of the boos. They're driving him crazy, and it is the blues he's got from being so just decomposing. That is what Donald Trump doesn't want to be seen in public, because he has always used sporting events as an opportunity to pretend that he's one of the guys, that he's tough. Donald Trump doesn't know shit about sports. Let's be real about that. Whenever he is giving a speech, and usually those speeches, President Obama knew, he was a big basketball fan, he's a big Bulls fan, he's a big Jordan fan. He made that joke about the 73-9 Warriors, and Steve Kerr was the only member that he set it up. He's like the greatest team in NBA history. One member, Steve Kerr from the 1996 Bulls. So he knew what he was talking about. But Donald Trump doesn't. And most presidents don't. That's totally okay. The Bushes did because they played baseball. It's fine. But most presidents, you can't follow every sport. They give their speech, whatever, move on. But Donald Trump likes to pretend that he knows sports. And so he's always like, so it's not so loud. Wow, this guy, this big guy, and there's a big guy, and you're a big guy, and we love guys, and wow, what nice guys, and tough guys, and strong guys, and guys, and we love the guys, and we guys, the guys, the love. That's my impression of a deranged Donald Trump, which is just Donald Trump. But the last time that he had is the Florida Panthers, a champion in the White House. He literally said, I know he's kind of being facetious, but not really with Donald Trump. He literally said, wow, these guys are so strong. They make me look bad. Well, I have the U.S. military. Donald Trump is killing people in the streets of Minneapolis right now with his own standing army. So don't believe it's a joke. Don't believe it's just a little funny comment when he says, oh, I feel so weak and small and insecure, but at least I have the U.S. military. No, that's a real thing. Donald Trump gets booed, and he sends his SS at people in Minnesota. Donald Trump gets booed. He demands a ground invasion of Los Angeles. Donald Trump gets flipped off. He posts an image of napalm dropped on Chicago. Donald Trump gets weaker, and he wants to pretend that he's stronger. That is what this is about. It is about how broken he is inside. He canceled on the Super Bowl because he just can't take the boos, and he doesn't want us to know. He doesn't want us to know how weak he is. That's it. That's the whole game. That's the whole ball game right there. That is what it is with Donald Trump. It's not that deep. It's pretty surface level. He feels pathetic. And that insecurity that's plagued him his whole life, he has to take it out on the entirety of the nation. It's the only way he can feel not so tiny as he is to take it out on all of us because he gets booed. Well, Donald, I hope you watch the game from home. I'm hoping it's going to be, I don't know. I like Drake May. I like the Drake May memes. I would be fine with, I'd be fine with the Patriots and the Rams. Probably want the Pats to win that one. Broncos, Jarrett Stidham. That might be interesting. Backup, Nick Foles style coming. I don't know who I want to be in that game. But what I do want to happen in that game is for Donald Trump to get booed. That's what I want. And it's going to happen. So when you settle in for the Super Bowl, because he's going to be watching, and he's going to be hoping that everyone's missing Donald. Oh, where's Donald? I don't see Donald. Actually, I take that back. Robert Kraft is like this with Netanyahu. So the Patriots, fuck the Patriots, fuck Pats. Go Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. I'm on board. Let's do this thing. But when he watches the game, the boos will rain down, and the tears will come from his eyes. And poor Donald, what a shame it's going to be for little old Donald. It's going to be so sad. It's going to be beautiful to watch because we hate you. So Bad Bunny, Green Day, politic it up. I can't wait for the right-wingers to break down to demand that a man who is a citizen and more of a patriot than any of those fucking chud goobers